Welcome to The Problem, a Lockwood & Co. podcast. I'm Caitlin.
I'm Alan.
And potentially this is our very last episode.
Yay!
Yay!
Wrap up the podcast in a silver net and throw it in the furnace.
And as I texted you last night, I realized that, last week we put out a podcast saying next week is our last episode, so if you have any thoughts, feelings, whatever, you got to get them in. But that episode is going out tomorrow, and we're recording
like in a few hours.
Today.
So you haven't heard it yet. So that was a lie.
It's a lie. We are done. And if you sent us anything after listening to the previous episode, we read it.
Yeah,
we'll read it. Whatever, future past.
But we chose not to put it in this episode because of time.
Yeah, we
existing.
Time travel did not happen within the creation of this podcast. So, the run of this podcast, I should say. So we're not able to do that for you. My apologies, I guess, for not understanding physics last week.
Right. I didn't stop you or correct you, so I don't know.
I don't know what we were thinking. Again, though, we do read everything that comes in, and if we get it on a social media, we will reply. I mean, we'll reply to emails and stuff too. But when I say we, I do mean Alan, because he runs that.
Yeah.
He shares them with me. I
usually pass along what you say.
Oh, good. So. That's great. I'm glad, because it's always snarky.
Yeah. But yeah, this time the idea is to talk about I don't know what their short fiction, microfiction. I feel like microfiction is actually like in a technical definition is like the kind of 2-line fiction that you see sometimes, or like that famous weird story about like
the baby
shoes for sale or whatever. But this is like, each of them is like 3 or 4 pages. And Jonathan Stroud put these out at Christmas time of 2023, and then again at Christmas time 2024.
So who knows if we'll get one this year?
Right. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Probably, or maybe it'll be a Scarlette and Browne thing now that that's done.
I think interesting, because I did enjoy that last Scarlette and Browne book, but man, we didn't get very many answers.
No.
I feel like we just kind of went off in a different direction, and it was good. Again, I want to say it was good, but like, what was actually going on?
That's probably what I really like about that book. I was really expecting something else to happen in that book, and the way it was totally not interested in that at all. I was like, wow, what a cool choice. But I don't know what was happening in that world at all still.
Like, where did the zombies come from? Well,
yeah,
and I always assumed
that
they were going to be related to how, I forget his first name, Browne.
Browne has powers and stuff.
Yeah. How, because that's, I guess, just how zombie fiction usually goes.
Yeah.
And they made their own little place, but they didn't take down the government, really.
Mm-mm.
And I did think that was going to happen. I'm like, well, that's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess they're still kind of working on it, is the idea there. Spoilers?
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not big spoilers, but...
Well, you can't spoil things that didn't happen. I don't know. I think that series is like a really interesting, like, in terms of kid fiction and stuff, like all kinds of fascinating choices. I feel like it's not nearly as popular as his other stuff. But it feels like the most complex thing that he's made. But I don't know. Lockwood & Co. is like, walks this tightrope of having the deep emotional complexity, but being like high adventure and fun in a way that's like less dark than Scarlette and Browne, and therefore a little bit more accessible. I don't know. And it had a TV show, which I think helps a ton for people to get interested in it.
Well, Scarlette and Browne has been, like, the rights were bought by Amazon, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen.
Yeah, they had casting and stuff, and then I feel like nothing ever moved on that, so.
Yeah, but that's quite common.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
I feel like book fandoms, like, not specific stories, but, like, books in general, you know what I mean, has really taken off in the past couple years. And a lot of people have come into it who didn't, just a lot of new people, I guess, is what I'm saying. And so whenever they see a book optioned for a movie or a TV series or whatever, they're like, oh, it's going to happen. And I'm like, that's not what that means.
Yeah.
That just means somebody paid some money to own the right to maybe do it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's going to last for some years. And if they don't do anything with it, somebody else can buy the right to maybe do something with it.
Yeah, I think my first online fandom was Wheel of Time, because that was like I was around the right age, and it was the late 90s, and it was the thick of that series, and there was always stuff in the air about it's going to get adapted. And like everything that we ever got about that was like bad. There was like a Billy Zane thing. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Oh, I didn't.
They adapted the prologue, and Billy Zane was like the bad guy in that.
Interesting.
It's so weird. And then eventually the TV show, which was real up and down, but like, yeah.
I enjoy Billy Zane as a bad guy. Like, I think he would have been good, but I don't know if that was good.
He was like the only good thing, which made all of it bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
An actor's only as good as,
like
an actor can't change a project. Well, they can change it, but they can't make a bad project good. That's what I'm saying.
Right. You imagine like, like the Empire Strikes Back with Luke and Yoda on Dagobah, but Dagobah is like, an apple tree in somebody's backyard and a really bad sock puppet. Like it was kind of like that. It was like, what are you doing, Billy Zane? I'm worried about you. Anyway, this is not where I thought any of this conversation would go.
Well, they're short stories, so I don't know. I don't think we're going to have too much to talk about.
We're going to pad it out a little bit.
Yeah, so the Christmas story is just, it's called A Portland Road Christmas, and it's Lockwood and Co. celebrate together on Christmas night during a blizzard.
Yeah. Maybe.
I genuinely don't remember there being mentions of snow.
Yeah, at the very end, they talk about it.
Oh, okay.
So in this story, it's still Lucy's voice. She's the narrator. It has the use of I did this and I did that. And it's like clearly Lucy.
I remember the first time I read this, I always thought that it sort of took place in between books 4 and 5. Because tonally, that's where everybody is. Right? Like, and relationships and...
Yes.
Right? Like, Kip's is there, Flo's gonna stop by, Holly is there, but... Holly
and Lucy are okay. Lucy lives here, obviously.
But the skull is in a jar.
Right.
And alive, or dead alive, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, in the jar. Yeah. He's not... This isn't... Oof. Punch my mic.
What did I say at the beginning, Alan? Grave. We're not hitting our mics today.
We have one rule.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a problem, although to me, this is like an opportunity to create bullshit, which is what I love to do, and to reach really far. So yeah, here's the problem continuity-wise, right? So the Hollow Boy takes place in the winter, the Black Winter or whatever they say, right?
Yep.
And then the Creeping Shadow happens in the late spring, early summer. And then the Empty Grave is a few months after that in autumn leading into winter, because Penelope talks about like winter is coming and it's going to be a bad one just like last year. So you better let me control everything. And so there is no interval where it could be Christmas time for the group to be together in that timeline.
So it just makes no sense.
Right. Well, I think it does make sense.
Okay.
If everybody is dead.
I see.
And this is what happens when you walk through the gate. Or at least for Lucy, it's what happens when she walked through the portal thing on the other side. That this is like heaven for Lucy is what I'm saying.
I can't. So here's my thoughts on that. If we're going with that, she must have died real soon after the end of the books. Because
Or
if
she didn't like her kids. You know, that's it's possible.
Not about, this isn't even about kids. But if she died as an older, as like an 80, 90-year-old woman, and then was like, oh no, the best time of my life was as a teenager.
Yeah. Before
No.
I was in a relationship with Lockwood, but thought it would be a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not even, some people do generally enjoy the what if more than the getting of a thing.
Uh-huh.
What if isn't the term I'm looking for, but the potential, I guess.
Yeah.
The potential feels more exciting or whatever. So maybe Lucy's like that. That's not how I see Lucy, but sure.
Me
but
neither.
It's the being a teenager bit for eternity. I'm like, I'm not cool with that, Lucy, and I don't think you would be either.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's hell. I don't know.
So, that's, okay. Yeah, she'll never quite have Lockwood.
Right. Yeah.
Skull will always be. She won't ever trust Skull properly.
It's always like right before Christmas. Like you never open your presents. You never like. You can't go outside because it's a deadly blizzard.
You never start/finish the game of sardines, so it's always just a threat.
It's a threat. Sardines is a thing I had to look up. I was like, what are they talking? Is that a real thing?
No, yes, I have played it in Girl Guides. So.
Okay.
It's a good pass the time when you're stuck when you have like 12-year-olds waiting for a ferry or you're stuck on a ferry for 2 hours. Maybe that's just like a Girl Guides here thing. We get on a lot of boats.
Well, it seems like that's how they characterize it too. They're like, it's a fun thing to do if you don't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
Kind of it's like hide and seek, right?
Yeah.
But when you find the person, you stay with them instead of like tagging them or something. I don't know.
And I don't know, from what I have seen in media, so this could be extremely wrong, games on Christmas seems to be a very English thing. It's okay. I don't. I find it, maybe here on Christmas Eve, my family will play some board games, but not so much Christmas Day.
Right. Yeah. There might be like, if the whole family gets together, there might be certain people who enjoy doing a game together, but like everybody together, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I do find the timing of Christmas is very different. At least the one Christmas that I spent in England. They don't have a big Christmas dinner at like 6. They have a lunch at like 2.
Okay.
So then you've got the whole rest of the evening to play games, I guess, because time. You know what I mean?
This is happening in the evening too.
Yeah, this is 4 o'clock. But this could be just after they had their lunch, dinner, whatever you want to call it, their roast.
Yeah. They're relaxing in the library. Lucy brings out like a tray of mince pie and a tea, like for everybody, a tea, tea time snack thing, I guess.
Have you ever had a mince pie?
No, I have a concept of what it is, but I've never had that.
I've bitten into one and then thought, this is not for me.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
It wasn't homemade though. It was like a store-bought one at the place. We had like a last sort of day on the job that I was working. Kind of similar to this. We all got together for some tea and we had like alcohol drinks and some Christmas desserts. One of which was a mince pie, and I was like, "Ooh, new Christmas dessert!" And then I was less excited once I bit it.
Yeah. So it's like associated in my mind with Christmas time, but I don't know if that's right, or at least like maybe a wintry.
Yeah. So modern day ones, English people. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna get this all wrong, but I'm gonna try my best. Okay. Modern day ones are like raisins and raisin-like things. I want to say dates.
Oh, okay.
Like dried up fruit. I don't know about the dates. With like spices and stuff. But they're called mints because I think originally, many, many years ago, they had ground beef in them also with the raisins and the spices and stuff. And they were like a we're low on food, so here's something kind of fancy.
Winter,
winter.
like
Yeah.
we gotta stretch the food out.
Yeah,
Food.
please correct me if I'm wrong. People who live in the UK, I'm not 100% on this. And
That
like
makes
a
sense to
similar
me.
thing with the sort of traditional English Christmas cake that is 90% rum, Lots of dried fruit and spices that they at the time
I have had.
Yeah, that they wouldn't have had much of at the time that the recipes were first thought of.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing that will like keep forever, and you could just like whatever.
Yeah, I've been watching this lady on TikTok who has already started her Christmas cake. It is.
Ugh,
she started it in May, and she hasn't like made the dough or the batter or anything. She's just soaking the raisins and other dried fruits in rum for a couple months. So, I mean, I know you bake the cake and then you light it on fire, but I still feel like this particular lady's cake is gonna fuck some people up,
I think that's part of the point of it too, though, right? Is like you can get a little, not drunk, but like your belly gets a little bit warmer than it probably would if it was just a cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great though. I love that there are so in on. No, I don't know how to say what I'm saying. I love these strange little Christmas traditions from not just English people, like everyone. I love traditions like this. It's great. I'm a big supporter of Christmas. That's what I'm saying.
I think. Oh yeah, I love Christmas. Yeah, it's like it's the best. I think. Yeah, but I think this story, like you can leave aside, like where does it fall in the canon? Is it canon? Is it not canon? I don't think that's the point. It's like a little, piece of comfort for these characters where there's no peril. Yeah, there's no ghost things are happening. I mean, Skull's there, but he's Skull, and he's, so he's bitchy, but he's not like malevolent.
I do love that he has like a jar cozy. That's so good.
It's so fun. Yeah, and he's like, "What are these things? What are?" And she's like, "No, it's nice." But again, it's like Lucy can't quite get anything right.
Yeah.
Or he's making fun of it. Maybe it is plain to see what they are, but he can't let her feel good about it. But yeah, it's a nice, like, they're together. Their problems are not real problems, like there's between her and Holly, everything is good, and George and Kips are getting along.
Yeah, I think even it's kind of said multiple times throughout the story that, don't worry about work today. Don't worry about what's in the papers. Let's just have a nice time. And I don't know, that feels like a very strong message from Jonathan Stroud to his readers. Like, just have a good time, folks.
Yeah, that sometimes you need to relax. And there's the nice moment at the end where it's like Lockwood's turn to make tea, even though they just made tea, but whatever. And he's like, let's do that together. Him and Lucy go off and do that together. Yeah. And they even look outside, and he has this thing where he's like, see, there's hope in the world. There's children have dreams. They made a snowman. And she's like, well, it's weird that the snowman is walking towards the house. And it's like some kind of ghost or entity out there. And he's like, oh, well, I guess maybe we should go fight it. And she's like, nah, let's just stay inside.
Yeah. The more you say that, the more it does sound like they're dead.
Yeah, I don't know. The other implication is like, that it's Flo out there, and she's coming in, and she's like covered in snow because of the blizzard, but which so could be odd. The case.
I feel like it snows so rarely in London.
I thought that too. But yeah, I don't know. It's always felt to me like, dislocated from time and from the tone of the books a little bit, in a way that I think he's just trying to write a comfort AU. Like the classic thing is to have everybody like work in a coffee shop or something like that and just keep the relationships the same, but everything else is different. That's like, they're not on the Star Trek Enterprise or whatever. They run a coffee shop together, and James Kirk is the head coffee maker or whatever, and And
I can tell you've never read A Coffee Shop AU.
I've skimmed them and be like, why would people do this? But it's
drama.
it takes all the peril out of the story.
Yeah. Okay. We don't need to talk about fan fiction, but
it just feels like he did his own little fan fiction, which I think is cute.
Yeah.
It was such a surprise when it came out. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, I remember that and everybody being like, what? I genuinely think this is where like the book 6 rumors started.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I don't remember the actual timeline on that, so I could be wrong. But
yeah, but I don't know, it's sweet. It did make me think how we were talking about at the end of The Empty Grave, the whole thing about, like living life on the edge, tilted against death and peril kind of thing. And this kind of rejects that a little bit. It, like the good life is among loved ones, and it affirms a need for self-care and comfort and family, which is a great message. Like they can go hand in hand.
I was looking at the story on Instagram, so I was just scrolling down the comments, and literally there's one that says, "Is a book 6 coming out?"
Right. The real question. Not like, when does this happen?
Yeah.
You're like, you're still writing these stories? He says that he still cares about this world, and he has ideas, he said that in interviews,
which is exactly this, like, the blasé way that you would either hint at a contract that's not signed yet or not want to say implicitly no. Right, so like it could imply no and it could imply yes, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm sure his agent would love for it to happen, but who knows if the publisher is interested. That's the real, maybe they want a new thing. They usually get more excited about a new thing than,
well, it depends on how much something sells,
back.
Right? No, if Lockwood & Co. is going to sell, that's what they want.
Sure. I will say, I was in the bookstore about a week ago, I guess, and I went and looked for the books, and the new series was turned spine out, but the Lockwood & Co. books were cover out, and they were on the shelf cover out. So, which to me feels significant because it kind of
you've never worked in a bookstore.
Well, it just pushes the other books aside. So.
It is arbitrary. Well, it's not. I found when we were shelving, when I worked at a bookstore, it was, you faced it if that made more sense space-wise, like if you had enough of them that you could fit more on the shelf facing them forward. So you do have to have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Which means somebody in the bookstore, up the chain who decides what bookstores are going to have, thought that I see what you're saying.
That you have them to sell. Yeah.
Well,
it's just weird that like a 2015 book was front facing and the one that came out this year, or like whatever, the third one, like the end of last year.
Or conversely, which I've seen in bookstores, well, off and on since 2020 when things have gotten weird. A lot of front-facing books take up more space so that your shelves look more full.
Yeah.
If you don't have full shelves.
I think it's still popular, though. I think it's the show.
Oh, no. I absolutely do also think it's more popular. And I think the show and also the fandom keeps it kind of alive.
Yeah. For sure.
Like, I don't know what his numbers are, but before the show happened, I had only heard of the Bartimaeus books. I hadn't even heard of Lockwood & Co.
Mm-hmm.
So before the show, it was definitely the Bartimaeus books were his most popular. And by the time the show was out, I think the first Scarlette and Browne book was out, if not the second also.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So he had 3 series when that happened, and I had only heard of the first one.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of him at all. But it's also not the waters that I swim in usually, so.
Yeah. Well, if I'm not mistaken, again, I haven't read the Bartimaeus books yet, he wrote them as a kind of anti-Harry Potter.
Interesting.
Like, he wanted, like, the chosen kid to be the not so, I don't know if he's evil, but he's not great.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understood, I haven't read them, again, so could be extremely wrong. And I do like that idea, and they were always something I meant to get to, but there's lots of books out there.
Yeah. Well, any other Christmas thoughts, or should we go to the apple tree?
I wish it was Christmas just because it would be cold out, and I hate summer.
Yep. So we agree that it's definitely taking place in hell after the entire story happens.
Or like purgatory, or limbo. I don't know, something in the middle.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is her not crossed over. This is maybe they're all ghosts.
Oh, in Portland Row?
Yeah, in Portland Row.
Weird.
And that person, that quote unquote ghost that they see walking towards them is an alive person. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Very, you know what? Actually, I'm not going to say that. That would have been... There's some things one should spoil and some things one shouldn't. But I was going to compare it to a movie. If you've seen the movie, you know which one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
The Apple Tree is our second one here, in which Lockwood sees his first ghost, his parents, in the garden behind Portland Row. And this one has chapter art.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm pretty sure Stroud drew it. So actually, it's quite clear.
I think this is his wife.
That makes more sense. Yes.
Georgina did this.
I forgot. Yeah. Yes. It makes 10,000 times more sense.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought Jonathan would have done it. You know what? Our last name is also Stroud. Whatever.
It's all Team Stroud. I've seen he does little doodles. They're very cute. But they're nothing like this is really accomplished.
Somebody who has a career in art, in her art. Yeah. No, this is quite clear. A chair under a tree. Was the chair mentioned in the story?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I like that it's empty.
Like the grave?
I don't know. that there's no people. This story is much more different.
Yes.
For one thing, it's the only thing that's not in Lucy's voice, I feel like. There is no I in this story at all.
Yeah, it's like a third person.
And also Lockwood is not ever directly named by the narrator. It also, the third person narration wanders from perspective to perspective a little bit, which I think is really interesting. Like we're a little bit inside of Lockwood's head, and then later we're a little bit inside of the nanny's head, which is a lot of stuff going on for like 4 pages. So I just notice, that's like my English major training. I just notice voice and perspective as like a clue to what's going on when it might not mean anything necessarily. But he's never named. It just says like the boy, the small boy. His name comes up in dialogue. And when it's in the nanny's perspective a little bit, it talks about like the Anthony boy or something like that. But he's never named. I don't know, the distance there in the perspective, it has like a interesting chilling effect for the whole thing. It's very like ghost story for me. There's a remoteness to the narration that gives like the whole thing kind of melancholy, the same way that picture is like a tree with an empty chair is just like, I don't know, there's a loneliness in it.
Yeah, a lot less Christmassy.
For sure, yeah.
I guess Jonathan Stroud had like some winter blues going on in 2024 that he didn't have in 2023.
The story kind of starts out with Lockwood as like a feral child in this house.
Surprise.
Yeah. Can't be contained by the nanny or his sister. The parents are not around.
I love that this is so English. Like nowhere else in, like if this was a story written by an American or a Canadian or whatever, it wouldn't be a nanny and they wouldn't have had 4 of them and she wouldn't be slapping them. Like all of that feels like straight out of Roald Dahl kind of a thing, or that type of thing. It feels like a very English children's book.
Because this would be even contemporary. I don't know if English nannies are still a thing.
Well, for one thing, in the Lockwood & Co. world, as we've established, it's confused about modern day.
That's true. Yeah.
Remember? Child labor laws don't seem to exist. Somebody had a boot boy.
Right.
Like, it doesn't know if it's Victorian or not.
Right. Yeah, Jessica seems to be in charge of his education, or that seems to be like a self-responsibility that
Well,
she's like,
he's supposed to be like 5, right?
he's pretty young. Yeah.
So I don't think she's in charge of his education. I think he's just not yet in school.
Right. Well, I just mean like in a personal responsibility kind of, she's like, come learn about this important thing. But I think she's also lonely
Mm,
because she's, cooped up in this house with a nanny.
yeah. Yeah.
And she just wants to be with somebody. And
Yeah.
Lockwood is there. She loves him, but is also like just trying to do right by him, I think. Yeah, there's just so much melancholy in this story. Like at every moment, the way that she holds Lockwood and talks to him, but it seems like it's not directly about him. It's about her loneliness, and she's constantly talking about the future because she's so dislocated from this present where she's clearly not happy and alone. But then later, Lockwood sees his parents under the tree.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't understand why they're there, and when he tells people about it, he gets punished by the nanny, and Jessica comes out to check and doesn't believe him.
But she's not like mean about it.
Yeah. I think it's like significant in terms of just the tone that I'm talking about, with like everything there's just a sadness to everything. So like it seems
really
like
sad,
Lockwood could never do anything right in this story.
And then of course it ends with Jessica saying that we'll always be together. I'll never leave you.
I'll never leave you. Yeah. Ironic, of course, because we know what happens.
Yeah, and it is also just never say that to a kid.
Yeah. So it has sad childhood, which we're into. Like
it's hard to be jokey about this one because it is just kind of depressing. Maybe we should have swapped them around.
Yeah.
Ended on a high note. But yeah, it's like no new information, but it is nice. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, it's well written, just a good little sad moment.
Mm-hmm. It's very well written. Yeah, I think it's like it just shows off how talented I think Jonathan Stroud is in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he wrote anything like this for his own benefit in terms of like writing the story. So at least he knew what Lockwood went through, even if he never like shows it directly in the story, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. And like he's just every year giving us a glimpse into all of his notes.
Yeah, his little scenes that he's making maybe for himself and just kind of cleaning them up and putting them out there. I don't know. I know in my own writing, I did that a lot where I would write things out so that I knew what was going on with the characters, even though I wouldn't put that stuff in the actual story just because I needed it. So that's what this feels like to me, because it's written in a completely different voice. This doesn't even feel like Lockwood wrote this necessarily. It just feels like completely different than the rest of the series in a way. But I don't know, but it fits also the emotional tone of the idea that like all of it's almost like what I kept thinking was that it's like Lockwood is the ghost haunting this house almost, like all this manic energy that he has, the way he never fits in to any situation or relationship with anybody, and then when his parents show up, he can't connect with them or understand them. They're like a confusing mystery, and yeah, he just feels like dislocated from this place. Mm-hmm. And as like we've read the whole series, and so like the whole thing is kind of dislocated in time for us, and so that just feels ghostly.
Yeah, it does. The whole this whole short story or whatever has a kind of wispiness to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to describe it. It does feel very ethereal almost. Even more so than the Christmas one, which may or may not have taken place after they're all dead.
Right. It's not even like, I mean, the ghosts show up, but like when I first heard, okay, it's telling the story of when Lockwood saw his parents for the first time, I thought that would be a bigger deal in the story. And it doesn't really feel about that. Like it's a thing that does happen. but it just feels way more about how there was already like some kind of deep problem with Lockwood anyway, like all this loneliness in their house. And yeah, just like it was like the parents were already gone, if that makes sense, at the beginning of the story, because they're just not there anyway.
Yeah, it was very like, this is part of why I think it feels like a very English story to me, because the start of it is almost like the start of, English boy goes off on an adventure to find his parents.
Mm-hmm.
Which feels very Roald Dahl to me, like almost James and the Giant Peach, but I'm pretty sure his parents were dead. But in this one, like, there is no happy ending, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you already, I mean, if you're reading this, then you would already know how it fits in. And so I think that is supposed to be in your mind the whole time that you're reading it. But it's like a very effective emotional piece. Because you could write this, like if it was the kind of thing that I said, right, where it's just like you write it down to understand the context for the character and backstory and blah, 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 blah. You can do that in a really cold, efficient way where it doesn't have to have this mood tone to it, just in terms of like information. But it's not like that. This is a very like nicely written, affecting piece, I think.
Yeah.
So again, it's much better than it has to be.
Well, and it might be the other way in his notes, right? And then he just plucked it out and expanded upon it.
Yeah, like
made it into a small story.
Nice. Yeah. If you flip to, in the Instagram thing, if you flip to the last one, there's a nice big picture. You can see the tools that Georgina used and a nicer picture of the picture.
I wish I had an apple tree. I just love apples.
Our apple tree is growing real nice. We just planted a pear tree. So we'll have pears in 15, 17 years, something like that.
I live in an apartment that the Strata is trying to sell for development.
Oh no. It's going to happen again.
They're not having much luck, but
okay.
So it's fine. But that's me. So I don't have anywhere to plant apple trees.
Is our usual format even applicable? Like most punk rock jokes?
Jokes wise, there was one at George's expense.
Oh yeah, with his coveralls or whatever. Yeah. I forgot about that.
So I had a little bit of that here. Although there was also the skull and the baubles and the jar cozy and stuff, which I did like.
Yeah. There's Kip's outsmarting George in chess, which is kind of fun because I feel like that's not the way you would expect a chess match to go for Kip's.
Honestly, that is exactly what I would have expected.
Oh, yeah?
Or, like, just knowing how Stroud writes the characters, that's what I would have expected him to do, you know?
Right, because the joke's on George, yeah.
Well, not just that, but, like, George thinking that he's the smart one, and then... George has George has a different kind of smarts, I think, than what media associates with being good at chess, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. I think Kipps does have a strategic mind, you know, like as a leader who was deploying child soldiers into a war. He might be better at sacrificing troops and whatnot to win. So yeah, he'd be good at chess. That makes sense. I think that was like a very mean take on Kipps that I just had, but like, but to be fair, that was how he was trained.
Yeah, so that's what we do here. We make fun of Kipps. Oh, sorry. You don't like it, go listen to the other podcast.
And that's why he should have died, is what I'm saying.
I'm sure they have shown time and again that they love Kipps, so go listen. In fact, you have to now. This is our last episode.
Right.
So everybody has to go. What's the name of their podcast? I'm terrible with names.
Oh, Haunting the Narrative. Yeah.
Haunting the Narrative. Everybody needs to go listen to Haunting the Narrative because we're done. And they do a completely different format than us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, like we said previously, if there is a book 6, obviously we'll come back for that. If there or when the graphic novel comes out, we'll probably come back for that. And maybe not right away. I don't think there's going to be any new information, so I don't.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what is it going to try to adapt everything? Is there going to be 5 graphic novels? I really don't understand.
It probably depends on how well the first one sells, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, that's
that
what
it's
I mean. Is the
happening
first one going to be like the whole story? You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's just book 1.
okay.
I think it's the Screaming Staircase.
I loved the art that I did see. I try not to.
She's my favorite fan artist, so I'm so glad that they.
Yeah.
Like I'm really happy with how they're doing it, getting like a fan artist involved who was already a fan of the series. That sounds redundant, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. You could get any professional artist, but you got a fan, so
exactly.
That's fun. Yeah.
So even if it is only in French, I am gonna buy a copy to support mostly the artist because I have supported Stroud already. Thank you very much.
I think that's what confused me was because I had seen her art adapting various scenes throughout the series, and so I was like, "Is this like from the thing, or what?" Yeah.
I don't think any completed artwork from the graphic novel has been shared. Incomplete artwork has been shared, but I don't think we've seen anything completed.
That makes sense.
But yeah, no, I am very interested to see how that turns out, and it's interesting that it's happening because I feel like graphic novel adaptations of popular books was really popular in the 2010s, and then like none of them sold well except for maybe Percy Jackson. So they stopped doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden Lockwood & Co.'s like, well, we're going to do it.
Yeah, you're right, though. That was like a weird trend across lots of different kinds of fiction, not just YA or kid fic. There was all kinds of stuff.
I think that was about when people started deciding or it became like graphic novels became more socially acceptable as reading. So, I don't know. On a completely different note, through Instagram, through looking at all these things on Instagram, I have discovered that somebody is doing a special edition set of the books.
Oh.
With artwork and fancy edges, and I collect books like that, so now I'm looking at this presumably $228 set, thinking, do I want to spend this money?
Is it? I wonder if it's. So would that be like an England edition? You know?
Oh yeah, the shipping is probably going to be just the same because it's coming from the UK.
Okay. Well, I guess the difference that I'm asking there is, how the chapter art and stuff was different,
there.
and like,
I put the link
cookie?
I put the link in the notes.
Okay, the cookie rule or the biscuit rule?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, interesting.
Like, I have the money, but it's not for books. You know what I mean? But do I? Some of it goes to charity.
Oh wow! Yeah, these the cover art and stuff.
What is the shipping gonna be?
I think that kind of shows too, like what we were discussing earlier, though, that like, for them to come out with special editions of these books and stuff, I think they're selling just fine. There's like a very healthy market for these books, and so maybe he will return.
The shipping is not as bad. Like, it's bad, but it's not as bad as it could be. And this is in Canadian dollars, so I don't have to wonder what it's gonna be. Possibly on recording here, I'm gonna make a poor financial decision.
Oh, that's fun.
Hold on, everybody, while I look at my bank account. And talk myself in or out of doing this.
Each set comes with a certificate of authenticity.
I think I've just talked myself into it.
Well, it's not going to happen for a while, though, right? Like, this is a pre-order. It's coming out in October.
And then when it gets here shipping, so it'll get here in November. It'll feel like it was free. Because it's months from now.
Yeah, because you already paid for it.
Anyways, I'm typing in my credit card number. Don't mind me, everybody.
It's very funny.
No, it's the final episode, so may as well spend some money. I don't know.
See, these things work in terms of like, as a advertising marketing tool. You come out with a thing in Christmas and it's paying dividends in June, July. So like,
I'm so happy I asked for people's advice and then said, actually, forget that.
I'm doing it. And everybody's advice was like, don't do it. Nobody would give you that advice
No.
on this show.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's all fans who are like, if I had the money, I would do it, or I've already done it, or whatever.
I think I have like a general thing against pre-orders, kind of.
No, I understand that. I do.
Well,
a lot
I was gonna say, so I was like, my daughter came to me and she was like talking to me about a pre-order, and I kind of was giving her my philosophical stance on pre-orders. And at the end of it, she was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. She's like, I'm trying to support an independent artist and you're talking about big corporations. Like, can you just pay attention to what's actually happening? And I was like, yeah, that's fair. You're right. So like,
I don't like to pre-order video games.
Yeah, I think it's a little different for video games.
And I don't like to pre-order just regular books. You know, like I can just walk into a bookstore and buy them day of. My order is being processed. Woohoo!
These kind of things, though, are limited, and like, you've already read it, you know you like it, you want the display thing of it. This is kind of
I think it said there was only 2,000 of them. So, you know what? I feel good about that. Yeah. And right now, I don't regret it. I've got 6 days till payday, so maybe I'll regret it within those 6 days. I'm joking. I did not just, like, cripple myself financially. I would not have done that. I did take a look at what was happening in my bank account first.
Yeah, I don't make these kind of decisions because, like I said, I have children, so I have no money.
I have a cat, but whatever.
Not that hard to keep them in kitty litter, food, and cat drugs.
Buy some litter. But she doesn't take drugs, probably yet.
Oh, that's good.
But, you know. Anyways, we can link that if in the show notes if anybody else didn't know about this special edition and wants to. I mean, in American dollars, it'll be cheaper. And in UK pounds, it'll be cheaper. So
it was expensive, but not crazy for this kind of thing.
You get
for
5
books, it's not bad.
Yeah. Plus, like, it came out to $2.75 with shipping. So
that's not
whatever.
Bad.
Somebody out there is like, no, that's horrible.
I don't know.
Like,
for five leather-bound books. Yeah, it's not bad.
Books are where I make my silly decisions. You know, other people do drugs or travel. I have books. And you know what? I've had a crappy week.
You really have. But on the upside, so you'll get books out of this and you won't have to talk to me anymore. So like, this is a real win-win. Like, your freedom, books, it's great.
On the flip side to that, if you listen to us because you like us, ? And not the Lockwood & Co. books specifically, we have been talking about a video game podcast. We just have to figure out what we want it to be. We've mostly been talking about what we want it to not be. Which is useful.
We don't want it to be good or popular. So I think we got that down.
I mean, nobody actually wants. I mean, I guess a lot of people do want that. But so if you like video games and listening to us ramble, that will probably happen. We just need to take some time off, for one thing, because we've both been incredibly busy /
very busy,
unhealthy,
sick. Yeah, we're
sick,
both
I guess.
sick.
Yeah, sick in various ways. But hopefully, maybe in the fall, something's gonna happen with that.
Yeah, that's kind of how I. Look, when the weather changes, for things to change. Maybe, I don't know.
But we have literally no information. We don't know what it's going to be. We don't know what we're calling it. But you'll be able to find it on the Hallowed Ground website if you're interested in that sort of thing.
And would probably throw things up on the official Twitter thing just to let people know.
Having just said that, I mean, it would be kind of fun to still just call it The Problem. And now it's just about us. We are the
different problem.
I really like that being the name of our podcast. Yeah.
You just said it's causing all the problems in our lives.
We cut that out.
Oh, that's true. That's not in the show.
Well, we can have a post credits
at the end.
All right. I think I'm editing this one, so I get to make all those decisions.
There you go.
But if you want to reach out to the show, maybe we'll have another show sometime when we can read your emails and tweets. Or, you know, obviously we'll read them ourselves and respond. But you can reach out to us on Twitter at Lockwood, at Lockwood Podcast. And you can follow me on Blue Sky at Inferior Caitlin.
You can send those emails to contact@hollowgroundmedia.com or bookmark hollowgroundmedia.com, I guess, for future ill-conceived projects that will be published there. I don't know. It's weird to me, having started Hollowed Ground Media many years, like almost 10 years ago now, as a purely revenge-driven project to take down a person that I didn't like, and have it continue to produce new shows when I figured no one would ever listen or want to work with me. So it's been a weird ride. I appreciate you wanting to create projects, and it's a lot of fun to do things with you. So thank you for doing that.
I like doing projects with you because I think we're good at taking equal responsibility instead of just one person being saddled with everything.
Yeah. That's been a hallmark of projects for us.
And that's, I didn't mean that as a dig at anybody.
It's just how literally, it works out.
Yeah. And yeah, no, this has been great fun. I never thought we would do this for this long. I thought we would just do the TV show and then it would be renewed. Insanity.
What are you talking about?
It would be renewed, obviously, so then we would do season 2, but
yeah.
That didn't
You'd be like, Alan, do you want to do a podcast for the next 2.5 years or however long it's been? Yeah. I'd be like, no, I do not. I don't want to do that.
So, yeah, this has been great. So everybody, remember to not eat mince pies. Like, they're weird.
English food culture.
I just had to dig on the English culture a little bit, you know? I talk about how much I like it a lot, so... All right, let's actually start here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the problem. Sorry.
Good.
It just, as I was saying that, I was like, God, maybe all these bad things happening to us are because we're doing a podcast called The Problem. So we've had all these problems. You know what?
You've manifestation is real. You're doing it to yourself.
And it was such a stupid thought, and I just lost it. Sorry.
Yeah. That was it. When we went on that vacation with my mom, she was trying to teach my daughters about manifestation, and how real it is. And I was right there telling, I was like, that's right. If you really, really want a unicorn made of peppermint sticks, you can do it by believing that it can be, and that you can have that for yourself, and it will happen. You have to believe that it will happen. That's not delusional. That's just making things happen. And my mom was like, would you shut up? You don't know the harm that you're doing. It's like, yes, I'm the one being harmful here.
I don't necessarily disagree with this idea about like putting good energy out into the world and like, you know, dwelling on that versus dwelling on all the bad things that could happen. But
yeah. If you want a promotion, you got to believe that you could do the job and that you deserve it and all that. Like, I get that mindset thing, but it doesn't make it happen. Like, that's the dumb part of that whole thing. Like, it might be necessary for it to, but maybe not. Like, sometimes I've gotten promotions and it's like, what?
Well, that's actually true. I said no to a promotion one time and my boss like forced it on me.
Right. Yeah. So like, I think that like just proves it's all pretty fucking random, but like, whatever. We're not having problems because we named the podcast The Problem.
No.
That's
No,
not
I
a
didn't
real
actually think that. I just
I know.
was like, maybe ending this podcast is a good thing.